All right. Welcome, everybody. Today we have Mike Puma on. He's the president and CMO at Century 21B3. Mike, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you. Happy to be here. Excited to have a chat.
Mike, can you share a bit about your role, a little bit about your background, how you got into real estate?
Yeah, interesting journey for sure. I actually started my first business at 17. Grew that. It was a sporting goods store that I started with my older brother. We ended up growing that to multiple locations, and I actually sold that to Play It Again Sports at 22. So then I had this kind of moment of, all right, now what? And so it just so happened that a guy who's on Play It Again's board at the time, who was part of the sale, was also on the board of a company called Ideal Image. And Ideal Image is a laser hair removal company. Some people may have heard of them if they're in your market. At the time when I joined them, they were 48 franchise locations and looking to grow. And they basically brought me on to see if we could grow that across the country. And we did. And so over the next 5 years, I helped them really on the real estate side, but just in general, trying to find and grow as many locations as we could across the United States and Canada. And so in those 5 years, we ended up growing to 124 locations, and we sold that. And so there, I got into private equity, and from the private equity side, a lot of our investments and a lot of the things I was looking at from a deal perspective were all in real estate. And in the course of doing that, became very good friends with Jeff Beggins, who's my now business partner, and his brother Craig. And they had a very local, couple hundred agent real estate brokerage in the Tampa Bay market, running very traditionally in the Century 21 brand. Done well. Their dad Jim had built this dynasty and decided to get involved in that, and that was nearly 10, 11 years ago. And since then, we became their first ever cloud-based brokerage. Really brought technology to the forefront of what we were doing on the real estate side and really tried to infuse more of a tech first kind of approach to a very traditional brand of Century 21, right? And we realized that the power of the Century 21 brand, along with kind of this tech first approach, was a recipe that worked well. And we've grown, and now we've got about 750 agents across Florida, growing into multiple states, started our own AI company. And so it's just been off to the races ever since then. So interesting journey, but one that's been really fun and certainly challenging along the way.
Great. Thanks for sharing that. I
Yeah.
understand you're managing over 400 agents. What does a typical day look for you overseeing such a large operation?
Yeah, I mean, it's all over the place, right? It's everything from the lifeline of any real estate brokerage is recruiting. So I spend a lot of my time helping our team recruit. So we have regional presidents that are really directly responsible for kind of the everyday agent stuff in their markets. But a lot of that still comes my way as well, dealing with agent issues, dealing with deal issues, dealing with transaction issues. So it runs the full gamut. But for me in particular, it's spent everything from creating content, helping our agents on the marketing and content side to and the tech side, all the way to figuring out how we're going to grow into another market and continue to scale the markets we're in. So it's every day is unique and interesting to say the
Hmm,
least.
that's good to hear.
Yeah.
What major shifts are you seeing right now in Florida real estate?
Yeah, I mean, the major shifts that we are obviously seeing is, we're in so many different markets across Florida, and obviously, we always say there really is no market when it comes to real estate, right? There's micro markets, but there's no big market. And so, when you look at the general real estate across the United States, we're going to do 4 million home sales this year as an industry, and we should be doing six. So we're down, and there's no doubt about it. This has probably been the slowest time in residential real estate since 2008 for different reasons. We're not in a 2008 environment in any way, no matter what headlines like to say. We've managed to we're up 20% year over year. And I think the only reason that that's possible is because we have really armed our agents. Like we train every day, and all the tech that we kind of focus around is all tech that actually solves everyday problems for our agents and helps them prospect better and market better. And the agents that are doing those two things are building better and stronger relationships with their clients, and they're still selling and they're still having transactions because right now what's driving the real estate market is everyday real estate. It's death, debt, divorce. Those are the things that are driving the real estate market, right? And so if you don't have a relationship, if you're relying on third-party leads, you're in trouble. And that's one thing that I've seen big time in this market is that you're seeing a lot of people who gotten into it in 2000 or 2025 or sorry 2020, and now it's 2025 and it's a very different market,
Right.
and they don't understand that, oh wait, I don't just put a sign in the yard and get 17 offers. That's not how this works. And we're in a very real market, and it's weeding out the people that don't belong. But that's kind of the trend we're seeing, right? It's relationship based, which is ironic as technology and AI and everything seems to
Right.
be taking over, right? It still shows you that at the heart of a real estate transaction is still a human to human connection. And it's really important. And you want to leverage AI, and we do, but you also want to make sure that that's just helping you become more efficient.
Right. Um, yeah, let's go into that a bit more about the tech first approach, and how you're different from other Century 21 companies.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like I said, we're a very tech first kind of focus on real estate and just in general, right? So we kind of look at our agents as being, for a lack of a better term, business partners, but locations, right? So I look at it and say, okay, we're a cloud-based company. We have no physical locations outside of the Tampa Bay market, but I've got 700 plus agents. So I've got 700 essentially independent businesses that I need to help run. And the biggest advantage that they have for us is that they know people that I don't know, right? And I'm like, if you were one of my agents, you know people that I don't know, and you have the access and relationships to build connections with those people that as a brokerage, I'm never going to be able to build.
Right.
So now the question becomes, all right, as your business partner, then how do I help you better leverage those relationships so that you can grow your business? And if you grow your business, you grow our business, right? And so that's where we kind of take a step back and say, all right, well, then it's pretty simple. We just have to help our agents be better, right? In every way. They have to show up better, they have to show up more consistently. And so then it becomes, all right, well, where are the pain points? And for us, where we realize like a lot of the pain points are is it's the common things you hear from agents, right? I didn't go to school for marketing. I didn't, I got in this business to sell homes, right? Like all those are the common responses. So for us, it was like, all right, well, let's build tools and then make that super easy. So when we look at AI, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time training my agents on AI because most of them are never going to know how to prompt right. They're not prompt engineers. They don't want to learn how to prompt right. They know they should be leveraging AI, but they have no idea how they can leverage AI, what it's going to do for them, right? And so we took that and said, all right, well, let's take all that off of them. That's on us. Let's figure that out for them and let's solve the problem. So we've built tools. Like we have an idea hub where they can go in and there's 250 plus topics already done for them. They select a topic. Our AI tool will generate the image. They want to upload their own image, it can. It'll generate the post. It'll add their branding. They can either add our branding, they can add their own branding, they can personalize it, all the clickable button. They don't have to think about it all. Downloads it, and we even have another tool that they can subscribe to that will actually deploy it and schedule it out. So just like one example, right, of just on the marketing side alone, arming them with content. And that allows, especially in our case with Century 21, allows them to leverage the brand because every single person, that post could be about puppies. But if the brand's on there and people see Century 21, they're associating whoever's posting that to real estate, whether they realize it or not. And if they're doing that every single day, well, now all of a sudden a life event happens. And if I'm in their feed all the time and now they go through a divorce or someone passes away or what life happens and they have a real estate transaction, I'm the first person that's going to pop in their head because I've been in their feed constantly, right? Building that subconscious value. So that's the game we're kind of playing. And from a tech perspective, those are the types of things that we've built and are continuing to build just to make our agents' life easier.
Mm. That approach is so interesting. Um, how much of your background came into kind of what you're doing now and the success you're seeing now?
I mean, a lot, right? So on the private equity side, a lot of what I was doing initially was really investing around tech and figuring out how we could kind of leverage different technologies and platforms across every business segment, whether it was commercial real estate, whether it was residential real estate, whether it was dermatology, whether it was dental, like all the different things that we were investing in. It was all about, in that world, especially efficiency. How can we roll these in, right? So tech was a big piece of it. And then for me, what I started realizing was I need to understand it, right? And so I kind of was self-taught from a coding perspective. Never once took a coding class, but realized like if I'm gonna actually be able to do this and really solve problems with it, I need to at least have a pretty good understanding of it. And so it just was reading a lot of code and then starting to code myself and starting to make some mistakes and then nowadays you can help leverage AI will help teach you a lot of mistakes because you can take a piece of code that's not working, throw it into AI and be like, hey, what did I screw up here? And in about 2 seconds, it's going to show you exactly what you screwed up. And so a lot of trial and error, and I was able to start coding myself. And then things got really interesting because then for us now, like there's really nothing's off the table. If an agent comes to me and it's really at the core of what we try to do every day, is we try to remove all excuses. Like I hate excuses. My kids will tell you that's like my biggest pet peeve. Like do not make an excuse, right? Control what you can control. And so for me, with the agents, it's the same philosophy. If you come to me tomorrow and like, hey, I would do more business if I had this. Great. We're gonna go build it and we're gonna give it to you, and then you better go execute and sell now because I just took that. Like you're not gonna give me an excuse that I'm not gonna solve for. So that's really the approach we've kind of taken, and we view that as like that's our role of this partnership. Your role is to go continue to build the relationship, sell, and then we're gonna arm you with everything you possibly could need on the back end. And for the agents that want to go to work, it works out really well.
That's sweet. Yeah, it sounds like you're pretty involved with the tool building.
Yeah, I'm very very hands-on on the tech side just because it's so important to what we do and helping our agents kind of execute for their clients on a day-to-day basis.
Right. Um, yeah. So, I mean, you mentioned having some challenges around agents adopting AI. What's working well for you right now? And if you want to expand on that, the challenging parts and the frustrating parts as well.
Yeah, so what's working really well is just building really practical tools where they don't have to think, right? And then building them better, and really integrating them in, right? So it's like again, it comes back to prompting. So our agents don't know how to prompt. So could they open ChatGPT and get ChatGPT to write an agent bio for them or a listing description? Yeah, they could. It'll do it, but it's only going to do it as well as their prompt, number one. Number two, they're going to get a generic output. Now, what do I do with that? And so what we've tried to do is say, all right, let's solve for all of that with really practical tools. So on the back end of our tool, yeah, we can leverage, open AI's API and all of that, but we're layering on top of that. So we believe heavily in VAK and DISC, and that's just big coming down to like, is someone visual or are they auditory, are they kinesthetic? Like who's reading this, right? And a lot of times when it comes to listing descriptions, when it comes to agent bios, agents don't think about that, but you don't know who's on the other side. And if I'm not using those words that kind of connect in my listing description to someone who's reading that, if that person's visual and I have no visual words in that listing description, it's not going to hit home with them. In the same way that if they're more auditory, it's not going to hit home. So when we've built our tool, we have a list it tool that will write their listing description for them. They put in 3 things, 5 things about the house, boom, and they can actually just speak it. They don't even have to type it. So they could be on the go, literally click our inside of our platform, speak everything about the house. It will turn that into a beautiful listing description for them with DISC and VAK built into it automatically, and then put that into a beautiful output where they can save it, download it, copy it, so they can do something with it after the fact. So we do that with listing descriptions. We do that with their bio. We have our content creator. We have another tool that allows them to just search property on the fly, so they don't have to go in their MLS to do it. They literally can just grab their phone and say, my client's looking for a 4 bedroom with a pool under 650,000 in 33543, and it's going to literally pull and instantaneously give them every listing that's on that market currently that's open that maps to that, right? So things like that that are just making their lives easy, because again, AI will do it, but they don't know what AI can do. They just know, like, they keep hearing the buzzword like AI, AI, and they're like, oh crap, I know I need to use it. I just have no idea how, right? And so that's kind of what we're trying to do, is just solve for all those little things.
Right. Yeah. Just really putting the tools in front of them and giving a
Yeah,
little training. And
exactly.
so what other areas are you most excited to innovate or improve? 'Cause I know, I mean, reading on some of your bios, just, which I really love, but just being really open to new ideas and adventures. So like expand on that sort of area.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like, the one thing I've learned, like, over my career, because especially, getting into the private equity world, whether it was laser hair removal or mattresses or dermatology or now real estate, what I really learned was, like, to me, the actual industry, the vertical we were in, didn't matter. Like, it really didn't. And like, it's kind of I'll probably catch some flack for saying that, because there's a lot of people who are like, you gotta love the product, you gotta love, like, the industry you're in. I'm like, I don't, I disagree. For me, it's never been like, you could tell me tomorrow, like, hey, let's go open a kite store, and I'd be like, oh, interesting. And so for me, it's all about, who am I doing it with? And if I have the right people around me, and for me now, like, Jeff Beggins and Craig are like brothers to me. And so tomorrow, if they wanted to go open anything in any other industry, I'm in. Like, let's go do it. Right. So, and I love the challenge. And when things get really, like, consistent and there's no growth and it just stops, I'm out. Like, I'm not interested in that at all. Like, I need the growth, I need the change, I need, like, I that's what I love. And so I love that building process. And then the second it's built and it's like, all right, guys, let's just put it in cruise control, that's exit time for me.
Right.
But again, like, for me, it's just more about the people. So I'm in it to do it with those guys, whatever that is. And the industry, like, is secondary, like, big time. I could care less about what industry we're in.
Right. So to follow up on that, like, where do you see B3 the next 6 to 12 months? Any expansion plans, growth targets?
Yeah, so I mean, we're really excited. We launched our AI company called Empower AI, and so originally it's, like, built all around, like, all the tools that we originally built for our agents, and then realized, like, there was this massive need for across the industry for these types of tools. So we're launching that, and then that caught the attention of a couple of our international guys. So the way Century 21 does it in particular is, like, every country and region is independently owned. So, like, Canada has its own owners, South America has its own owners, and they operate completely independent of the U.S. And so those guys saw what we were doing, are like, hey, can we take this platform and put it down there? So we have heavy expansion plans both throughout the U.S. with that company as well as internationally. So really excited about that, and that will take up a lot of our time over the next, few years for sure. And then BE3 has opportunities right now to expand into multiple states on the real estate brokerage side. So we're exploring that, and so I think over the next 5 years you'll see us heavily expand on the residential real estate side through the Southeast. And then on the AI side, we'll be nationwide and probably throughout South America as well as Canada.
Mm. So, well, what excites you the most about the future of real estate? I mean, I know you mentioned the industry doesn't really matter, but um, what would you say?
I think that the most exciting thing is that it's going to become, which I know feels like the opposite, but I think it's going to become, it's always been a people business, but I think it's going to go even more that way. I think in a world where everybody has so much AI being thrown at them, from calls to text to shows to video content that you don't even know if the content you're watching is real or not. I think it's going to cause people to crave um, one-on-one human interaction. And I think in the real estate side, that's really exciting. And so I think there's amazing things that will happen and will open up opportunities in real estate because of AI and the technology. But I think that at the same time, it's going to really, really make those that can build really strong relationships and connections even more valuable.
Right. So if you could solve one major problem, one challenge in your business, what would it be?
Hmm. One major challenge. It's hard because I like challenges actually. I would say the friction, right? It's the hardest part whenever you're growing and scaling, especially fast, is the getting everybody to be aligned with that vision is hard, right? It's really hard. It's probably the hardest thing we have. So, for us, not only do we have 750 agents, but we have, almost 50 staff as well. And so getting everybody aligned, almost 800 people on like kind of the mission of what we're doing, is never easy. And you're always going to have these few outliers. And so for us, it's been one of those things where, um, we're probably loyal to a fault, but it's also, getting rid of that and just focus. So I think if we could solve one major point, it would be the people who want to slow down and say no, get rid of them because we don't have time to slow down and we don't take no for an answer. So it's kind of doesn't work well with us.
Like that answer. So like just to probe back into creating new tools, what does that process look like when, an agent has a new idea or has a new challenge? Like they send that out to you and then from there, where does it go?
Yeah, so really myself and one other guy who works with me is kind of focused around more of the tech side, and then when we need to, we can pull in some tech partners. But um, that process for the most part is we ask for that feedback, so we actually have a spot on the platform for them to give ideas or feedback, and we usually will take that and then we'll look at that and say, all right, is this needed, right? Is it a good idea? Does it actually solve a problem? Is it just this agent's problem, or is this like a much bigger problem? And so once we identify kind of like what that looks like, and is it actually going to bring value to multiple agents? If the answer to that is yes, then it's all right. Well, what's the timeline, right? Like, can we do this? Is it feasible? How long is this? Is it going to break something else we're doing? And so once we run that feasibility test, then a lot of times it's very fast. And my business partners will joke all the time because they will tell our agents, hey, be careful what you ask for because you'll have it tomorrow. I will have it to them fast if it's possible to get done because again, I'm on a mission to eliminate excuses, right? So that's kind of how the process goes. I will say though, like our biggest problem there is that myself and Jimmy, the guy who does this with me on the tech side, we're probably the biggest people that are like, hey, wouldn't it be cool if it could do this? All right, let's do that. And so every day there's more ideas and there's more
Right.
things. So it's more about us like actually slowing ourselves down and like not rolling out too much and overwhelming the agents. But yeah, I mean that's kind of the process. It literally, if we think it's valuable enough, we'll have it the next day.
That's great. Um, what, uh, what kind of advice would you have to, let's say, entrepreneurs, young entrepreneurs, and also someone who's looking to get into real estate
Sure.
industry?
So from an entrepreneurial perspective, I think honestly my biggest piece of advice, at least what's worked for me, is find people that you want to go on this journey with. If you can find that person or couple people that you really like, just doesn't matter to you now what you're building, but you're going to build it with them, it makes the entire thing so much more enjoyable and easier. When you try to go at building something completely alone, it's really hard because you're going to have moments, and I don't care how good the business is or the product is or whatever it is that you're trying to sell, you're gonna have fear, doubt, and anxiety take over. You're going to get to a point where you're like, this sucks. Nobody's gonna want this. No one's gonna buy it. That like you're gonna go through those phases in your head. And if you don't have other people to bounce that off of and get kind of back to neutral, you're gonna struggle big time. So my biggest piece of advice there is just find a co-founder, find a business partner, find somebody that you really want to go on this journey with, because it is a journey. And then obviously along with that becomes patience, because if you're doing anything because you want to, make money quick, it's probably not going to work out the way that you want it to. And so for me, like I've always enjoyed the process more than I've enjoyed anything else, right? So like, and when that happens, right, if I enjoy climbing, not getting to the top, then when I get to the top, all I want to do is climb again. If I'm only climbing to get to the top of that mountain, as soon as I get there, now what? Right? I'm done. Like it's over. I did it. So I think for me, it's like you got to fall in love with that process, but you have to fall in love with who you're doing it with.
Right.
Would be my biggest piece of advice there. And then real estate wise, if you are looking to get into the real estate business, I will tell you, we have agents that make millions of dollars a year. And the national average for an agent is to sell like 3 properties a year, which means they're probably making under 20 grand. Um, the biggest difference between those two people is solely that one is treating it like a business and the other is treating it like a hobby. That's it. So I think people get into real estate because they watch, they watch $1 Million Listing, or they watch like one of these TV shows and like, oh, that's easy. I could do that. I could show a house and sell it. Yeah, you're probably right, but that's not really what this industry is. So the reality is, I don't care what your mission is when you get into real estate, you have to treat it like a business, because that's what it is. And if you were to open any other business, you would have to invest in it, you would have to market it, you'd have to treat it like it's a real business, and this is no exception. So if you do that, you can make a lot of money in real estate. But if you don't do that, you're going to struggle.
Great. Okay, Mike. Well, this has been fantastic. Thanks for the insights. Where can our listeners find or learn more about Century 21B B3?
Yeah. So if you're interested in what we're doing, you can go to join C21be3.com or getempowerai.com if you're more interested in the AI stuff. And yeah, it's been a blast. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Awesome.